Welcome to Live Fully with Kratom podcast. I'm co-founder, Ethan co-founder, I guess. I should let people know that. I'm Ethan co-founder, Victor, and with me is fellow co-founder, Alexander. Morning, Alex.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing well.
Yeah?
Went to the gym this morning.
Awesome.
Did my kettlebells, did a little bit of arm workout, and then not the steam room, but the sauna this time. So
Oh, okay.
steam room's out of commission, so that's why.
What do you prefer?
I mean, I generally like the steam room just because it's hotter, and so, I mean, because the whole thing too is like if you have a lot of humidity in your sauna, that's gonna feel much hotter. It's kind of like you can stick your hand in like a 400-degree oven, like just in the air temperature, and it's like it feels warm, but it doesn't hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
If you stick your hand above like a boiling kettle of steam, it'll like burn you severely. It's like that heat transfer. You get a lot more heat transfer. So like, if the whole idea is to get a lot of heat transfer in your body and like shock it to like feeling really warm and uncomfortable and like generate those heat shock proteins, you don't just want the high heat, you want the high heat and some of that humidity to really kind of stress the body. So that's why I like the steam room a little bit more.
Yeah. That's why I hate the steam room a lot more.
Yeah.
All right, that's a good segue into today's topic. It's about how we regulate our hormones. Hormones? Is that what it is?
Hormones, yes. Hormones.
I don't have to actually pronounce it right. Naturally, of course.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, and hormones are incredible as far as the function of the body, how it works.
Say, let's get started. Now we can talk about it. Okay. Wait, do we want to jump into topic or we go through the other stuff first? I guess we go through the other stuff first.
Yeah.
Sure, we'll go through the boring stuff first, and then we get into the topic. Leave people hanging. Like literally, you're like about to finish that sentence. You're like, hormones are really interesting. Okay, so let's talk about industry updates.
Well, there is, I mean, good industry updates. So at least we have Mississippi Board of Pharmacy. They voted against scheduling Kratom as a Schedule 1.
Right.
So yeah, listening to the science, American Kratom Association was able to present the science, kind of the current research going on. And of course, when these municipalities, Board of Pharmacies hear about the actual research and just not the misinformation from almost 9 years ago now at this point, they actually realize, oh, this is looking to be a benefit. There's a lot of promising. Yes, we need more research and understanding, but yeah, we're not going to schedule the substance because the science doesn't indicate that. There's a lot of benefit from it. There are some general concerns and we need some common sense regulation, but it's not something that's severe that's gonna cause a lot of harm into the world when done properly. So let's do things and still let's make Kratom accessible, let's label it properly and allow people to make that choice to manage their health and wellness with a natural substance.
Yeah, amen, brother.
Preaching to the choir.
Preaching to the choir, man. Yeah, I never thought about that there hasn't been any recent research or efforts that substantiate the other side's argument, right? It is really just quoting data from like years ago. And there's nothing new, but no one looks at it. So it's wild. Like you have nothing recent to, qualify your statements.
Well, of course. I mean, the FDA would not show up in court when they were ordered to show up and prove Kratom was dangerous. So even in the background, FDA, or in the foreground, kind of on the old Twitter side and social media, they've been kind of perpetuating, oh, Kratom is potentially harmful. It's like, okay, we'll show it in court. And they're like, we can't. So when they actually have to prove it with science and research, that's when they back down. And then they do their own, single ascending dose study and find out that Kratom is well tolerated at all doses, up to 12 grams of whole leaf material.
At a single dose,
At a single dose in 5 minutes. It's like, okay,
That's ridiculous,
it's amazing. It's a crazy amount of Kratom in a single dose. And no severe adverse effects. So it's
like, what's your dose right now?
I typically do, I used to do 2.5 grams years ago, but then like 3 times a day. So now I do more like 4 to maybe 5 grams just once in the morning. So it's kind of just like a single dose, just longer sustained amount for it.
Yeah, because you're using our whole leaf tablets.
Yep.
They break down slower in the body.
Yes.
That timed release.
Yep.
And I do the same thing too. So like when I hear 12 grams, it's like, I couldn't even swallow that much.
Yeah, exactly. And that's also why in that study, the placebo group also had nausea and vomiting from the placebo control, because it's like you're taking 12 grams of just any plant material is gonna take 24 half-gram capsules. Like that's gonna upset anyone's stomach for the most part.
Oh, the bloated feeling, all that too. Oh, yeah, especially in capsule form. Yeah, no thanks. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Science is like we keep understanding the questions, keep researching, and keep getting a better knowledge base of what's happening.
There you go. The truth will prevail, and it is. So nice. In Mississippi, that's great. I know it's also Colorado is up too. They're trying to expand some of their kratom laws in not so positive ways. I don't know if they've made a decision quite yet, right? I don't think so.
I don't know. Yeah, some of the complications is the Global Kratom Coalition, which is a kind of more of a industry group funded by a subset of just a couple kratom companies with a few products. They're trying to kind of install regulation that benefits a few products versus trying to create a self-regulated, healthy, competitive environment. They're trying to really kind of push out some other competition is what it kind of shows.
That's what it feels like for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So those that expansion of those laws would, exactly what you're saying, would limit the production of other kratom products, limit the market, limit choice,
and not actually make it safer. So it's like,
without actually making things safer.
We want healthy regulation, safe, consistent regulation for safe products, but we don't want to over-regulate something that removes safe products from the market or removes competition or just kind of causes confusion, and then giving other regulatory entities kind of the ability to take products off the market that should not be taken off the market. So it's a complex. Regulations is super complex how to do it properly.
Yeah, for sure. All right. The other update we wanted to talk about is Champs. So Champs is happening this week. So whenever this airs, it'll probably be, we usually take about a week before we air our episode. So Champs will have been completed and done. But right now we're like literally in the midst of preparation and trying to get it out because the event is in like 2 days. So we're like the final stretch of making sure we're out there and supporting all the companies that purchase kratom products from us, from Etha. So we manufacture a lot of products for other vendors. So it's not just the Etha branded products. And it's a lot of work, just making sure. It's a lot of like, for me, it's a lot of just like texting and calling. And like people calling me and like, hey, are you gonna be at Champs? I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna be. Oh, we gotta meet. We gotta talk about so and so. You guys have anything new? And like, whatever it is. And it's just a lot of that like schedule management stuff. That's a lot of time. But it's all in all, it's kind of it's a wild event. It's so unique. Never experienced anything like
Champs
it.
is very interesting because it's. I mean, especially because we started Etha with the mindset of taking kratom from kind of the traditional retail settings where kratom has been sold and trying to bring it into health food stores, grocery stores. Yeah. So as Etha, we don't go there, say, to really promote our Etha brand and try to get those type of vendors to purchase our products, but we still go there to learn more about the industry because it is a major part of the kratom industry of where a lot of products are sold and how to kind of just increase the awareness to what should be made more available. I mean, it's fascinating how there's so many companies that have been involved in Champs for decades, and yet they don't necessarily kind of cross-pollinate all the information. I mean, I know we've brought some kratom trees into Champs, and it's the first time that people have seen a kratom tree or really understood what it is. And it's just like, but you guys have been selling this kratom leaf product for years now, and like this is the first time you've researched. It's just, I guess, just the different mentality, right, that we have personally about how, okay, if I'm going to do something, well, I want to know everything about it and go learn about the tree, grow the tree.
We want to actually grow the plants.
So it's just a different mindset. But it's happy that we can have a space, right? If they were doing it, then we wouldn't be able to bring some of that knowledge and experience into that industry or in that subset of the industry. So it's a good I don't know, benefit for us to be able to hopefully provide to people.
Yeah, I mean, I remember you and I debating a lot about whether or not we wanted to be involved with Champs and be there because, to your point, like our products don't belong in, we don't cater to smoke shops and convenience stores, and then that's the audience for Champs. So Champs is a counterculture expo where a lot of these retailers, smoke shop owners, will come to look for new products. So that's the majority of it. It's become beyond that. It's become kind of like just an event for like celebrities to come and have fun and all that kind of stuff. But that's the primary audience, are those retailers, and they're just not our retailers, you know. So it didn't make sense for us to be there. But then that is, unfortunately, it's still the majority of Kratom that is sold and purchased are in those locations. So if we want to make an impact, you know, we have to address that market. So that's why we've gone in and talked to those brands that are primarily selling into those channels and seeing, can we help you guys produce products that are safer, lab tested, labeled properly, and all that stuff. If that matters to you, then work with us. Elevate your brand, elevate your products, and you know, and sell in smoke shops. This is what's happening right now is just a total lack of sleep. So I can't even talk correctly right now. So it's been a rough couple of nights. I was like, I looked at my phone, I'm like, oh, podcast today. Oh, this is going to be interesting. Hopefully Alex can carry it today. But anyway, so that's why we're there. And to your point too, it's good for us to engage beyond those vendors, beyond those channels. People like the American Kratom Association is there. Some of the major players within the industry are there, and we're going to be there with them. I think the AK is holding they're holding some sort of training or
I mean, my assumption is that one of the biggest issues is going to be, how do we get companies that sell 7-OH, which is 7-hydroxymitragynine, if they choose to sell that product, that they cannot label it as Kratom. So 7-OH is a metabolite of Kratom, but it cannot be labeled as Kratom because Kratom has a lot of research on the whole plant material, mitragynine, the full spectrum of alkaloids. 7-hydroxy is a single metabolite that's been isolated and elevated in certain products that then has a much different effect. And so there's a lot of controversy around it because 7-OH is more of a full mu opioid agonist. So there is.
So what does that mean?
It means that there, at least in the animal studies, which probably translates to humans, is that it is self-reinforcing, meaning that it's much more addictive, that if you consume some and on a regular basis, you will want to consume more of it. I mean, so that's the negative side. I mean, some of the positive side is that it is at least a G protein agonist, so it does not recruit beta-arrestin, showing that it should have less addiction liability, less tolerance buildup, and less kind of respiratory depression. So that's where it's kind of in this unknown state in some ways, where there's some negative elements to it, some positive elements to it. Yeah. So let's kind of figure out more of that research and understanding. Use it cautiously if you need it. I mean, I have used some of it myself to try and get an experience for what it is. There's definitely some positive effects from the pain relief side. I also gave some to my dad, who has a lot of severe pain issues. I mean, horrible back. He had, double knee replacement. He has overall kind of health declining. Yeah. He had a stroke, and so his body is kind of fighting itself in some ways with his muscle tension. And over the Christmas break was the first time that he was able to participate in some of the family activities because of 7-OH. But at the same time, it's also adding in Kratom that kind of helps with the full spectrum of alkaloids. And
okay.
I mean,
you did both.
Yes. Okay. I mean, and importantly, it's like, well, don't consume too much of it because it will cause nausea or kind of cause a little bit too much. I don't know. There's a little bit too much of a feeling for me when I use it, where it's like, okay, I'm feeling very excited, I want this, but that's at a very small dose of like 7.5 milligrams versus when you see products out in the market that are 15 milligrams per tablet, in air quotes, like 2 servings per tablet. So they're kind of creating this form factor that's very hard to understand. I feel like I'm taking 1 tablet, 1 serving. I don't feel like I'm taking 2. So there's that kind of behavior.
You didn't notice the score mark?
So there's that kind of like, so let's kind of be more open and transparent about some of those activities. And then also it's like, okay, well, if you feel that you need something that strong, also be cognizant of that it can be very habit forming or addictive. Start incorporating Kratom to lower that amount. Let's be a little more educational about it.
Yeah, and that's one of our partners, one of the companies that we produce products for on the whole leaf kratom side of things is Element 115, and they're gonna have a huge presence at this next Champs. There's a skate park and a vert ramp and everything. There's gonna be the first ever skate competition every single day there, and so it's gonna be huge for Danny Way, huge for Element 115, and we're very proud of them, and we're glad that we're able to support them at least in some form with our whole leaf kratom products. But Danny himself has talked about how he's helped his friends kind of get off of opioid addiction through the use of kratom, and he talks a lot about what you're saying, like the importance of like starting with something strong, but you have to kind of taper down, and like in your journey is trying to get to just using whole leaf kratom tablets, which is what he does. And so it's just important to just recognize, yes, there are going to be moments, there are times, there are people that will need the stronger stuff for whatever their circumstance might be, but the goal is always to get to something that's healthier, more long-term, sustainable.
Yeah.
So,
fully natural and very
fully natural. Yeah. So Champs is coming, and I would say if you're going to be there, try to find us. We'll be walking around all over the place. But by the time you hear the event will be done. So hopefully we saw you. All right. Okay. What else? You gonna scroll up, Nicole? Good morning.
Good morning.
I think are we going to get into the actual topic of hormones?
All right. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, let's go higher up. I think we had some notes here. All right. A little down. Alex's notes. You had some notes. Nice.
Yeah, of course.
I added some too. Look at that.
Nice. All right. Yeah. So hormones.
So are you talking about in general, or are you going to talk about what you do personally?
Probably. My guess is like what notes you added are probably more around Tomcat, testosterone, some of the topics we've talked about before.
Mm-hmm.
The notes
that I take personally.
The notes I've added are more around insulin. So I started listening to a new podcast called Diaries of a CEO.
Oh, okay.
And so like I'm just starting to listen to it, and so kind of getting into that form, and nice like experts coming on and talking about a range of topics. And this one was actually Dr. Benjamin Bickman, and I believe he does a lot of research into insulin, and that's what the whole topic was about, insulin. And so typically we just think about insulin as being helps with blood sugar, but didn't realize how, insulin is a hormone in the body, and it seems like most hormones in the body have multiple functions. And so there's a wide range of what insulin does, and then also kind of showing this, that I guess some of the stat that kind of opened up the podcast was that 88% of adults have some kind of metabolic disease, meaning how we metabolize foods and kind of what we put in our body. And that's really kind of pointing towards kind of like this insulin resistance. And so it was fascinating from the standpoint that basically, when we consume glucose or sugars that gets released in the blood, or when our body sees glucose in the blood, insulin is released to tell the body like what to do with that sugar. So sugar is this energy source, and basically insulin will be released, and kind of the analogy was that insulin becomes like this bouncer at the door. So it kind of knocks on the cell wall to say like, hey, I have some sugar here, open up. Okay. And so like the cell will then open up, and the sugar, the glucose goes in and becomes kind of an energy source. Yeah. But it also kind of seems that it's not necessarily like a preferred energy source in some ways. And so if we get higher and higher insulin levels, lots and lots of sugars are around, the body starts to build a resistance to insulin. And then that can cause kind of a lot of these metabolic diseases, or points towards being associated with these metabolic diseases.
Yeah. Everyone's trying to get in the club now. You got to be like, yeah, all right. They got to get bigger bouncers, more of them.
Yes. Yes. And that's kind of what I've seen a lot of research, and this was also kind of in the podcast too, that Alzheimer's or Parkinson's is showing to be kind of like almost like a metabolic disease related to insulin and too much glucose being in the body. And it's kind of like overutilizing this glucose pathway helps develop or kind of promote the negative effects that we see associated with Alzheimer's.
Yeah. I was listening to a separate podcast about that too. I'm not finished with it, so I don't want to misquote it quite yet, but it was pointing to the effects of food and glucose consumption as leading cause of dementia and Alzheimer's. So.
Yeah, and what's so fascinating was in this podcast, Dr. Bickman brought up that, we've been given this message that cholesterol is bad. Mm-hmm. And in reality, that's just not true at all. Some of the people that they've studied that are some of the longest living humans, they have high cholesterol levels. When you look at mitochondria require cholesterol to be in the cell to function properly. So this idea that cholesterol is bad, we need to lower it, don't eat fats, is the complete opposite of what it should, of what we should be told.
The essential building blocks of cells that powers us.
Yes.
That's bad for you, by the way.
Yeah, it's so that fascinating how we've kind of gotten this, going in the wrong direction on some of our food supply and what we actually need to consume.
Yeah, there's all that controversy around, sugar companies and manufacturers trying to demonize fat and all that. When was this, in the 80s, 90s, something like that?
Yeah, I think even before. Yeah, and I also brought up, part of that cholesterol too is that all of our sex hormones, so other hormones that drive our body and we need to function properly, all sex hormones are built on cholesterol. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing too, is that if you're having low testosterone or low sex hormones in general, will increase fatty foods that you're eating, because that gives your body the required cholesterol to produce those hormones in the first place.
Interesting. I know this is just my own single case, but so I remember when this is years ago, when you and I were doing the carnivore diet, like hardcore carnivore diet. We did it for 3 years, which is just wild to think about that. We were so strict with it for so long.
Felt great. It was,
by the way, great.
Hardest part was definitely holidays, and the other part, and just so hard to stay on it. But ketogenic diet is amazing.
Yeah. And we still do a lot of the same the habits that we learned from that period of time. We still do today.
I still try to do low carb, low sugar as much as possible.
I have 2 steaks literally thawing right now. That's going to be my food for the day. So I'm trying.
I had eggs this morning. It'll be a steak for lunch.
Ice cream tonight, of course.
Yeah, but at least you're limiting that, or you give your body rest in between. So part of the reason that, too much insulin kind of causes insulin resistance. And that can be, a long-term effect where if we're constantly eating throughout the day with carbs, your body's still producing insulin, so you never get a break from it. Mm-hmm. If you do intermittent fasting, that's part of what really helps, is that it allows the body to reduce the glucose levels, and then, okay, there's no more glucose in the blood. Okay, insulin levels can reduce. Mm-hmm. Your body can then kind of equilibrate back down to what it needs to be, and you kind of give it a rest. So even if you do want to enjoy the sugary foods, as long, it's helpful to try to stay away from carb sugars, have a ketosis at some points of the day, or have intermittent fasting. So you
don't just shove it in your mouth constantly.
Don't eat 6 times a day, constantly eating carbs and sugars, and you're at this fully elevated state, then your body can't ever reset.
Yeah. So. I eat an insane amount of desserts and sugars and stuff, and I'm not morbidly obese. I should be. If you guys knew yesterday or 2 days ago, I guess, I had 4 desserts. So it was to the point where Enzo looked, my oldest son, he looked at me and goes, "Dad, seriously?" And he started counting down. He's like, "Okay, you've had this, he's you had a slice of pie, you had a drumstick, you had 2 scoops, and then I took a Krispy Kreme's donut, and then I pan fried it. I added some bananas. Bananas are good for you.
Oh my god.
That's like 2 desserts in one. So you're not even talking 4 desserts. You're talking
And then I put a scoop of ice cream on top of it.
5 desserts.
It was awesome.
Well, we have a birthday in the office today, so there's about 4 desserts
in
the fridge right now.
I can't. There's no sugar for 2 days at least.
More for me.
Maybe tonight.
Okay. So when you were on the ketogenic diet, when we were on the carnivore diet.
Yeah. So sorry. I remember, and if you ask Lisa, what was that? I'll talk about it to somebody. I'm like, hey, you should do the carnivore diet or whatever. I'm talking about how amazing it is. And then she goes, just be warned. When Victor did this, he was so aggressive. And I'm like, what do you mean by aggressive? You just always want to go out and work out all the time. And then you're always on me. I was just I don't remember any of this. I just felt good. I felt happy. She said, no. You were grr all the time. There you go. So maybe that's some truth to it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it'll probably drive more sex hormone production.
Yeah. So, I'm good with 3 kids. I don't need I don't need a 4th kid. All right. So what I took a different route with this when I saw this topic. I said, I just answered the question, what am I personally doing to regulate my hormones? So we all know you and I take Tonkat Ali because it's it's really effective, of course. And it's a product that Etha makes. And as Nicole always says, she's just waiting. Whenever she discovers something new, a new supplement, she's like, I'm just waiting for Etha to make it, and then I'll start taking it. Because, there's a lot of
supplements out there that are really beneficial that we probably can't make. So there's a lot you should incorporate. Not
Yeah. Yeah, you shouldn't just wait for us. But if you do use our product, that's the whole point of Etha. You can, you know that it's going to be quality. We've done this
unless you want to get a farm and start raising, deer? And
let's go.
Let's go. Or we become hunters, I guess, and just go hunt and get the meat and then get the antlers. And we'll start to kind of
yeah. It's amazing. Okay, so on top of Tonkat Ali, for the last, I don't know, couple months now, maybe 3 months or so, I don't know, for a while now, I've been trying to take deer antler extract. The velvet in it. Yeah. So I just took it without even knowing honestly what it because it was part of a bundle deal and it was on sale.
But it is very common for testosterone production from what I've seen, right? The marketing of it or testosterone support. So what is it?
So you can break it down. So it actually is. So it's the velvet. It's when the deer are trying to grow antlers and it's in this hyper growth phase and it's that velvet, the skin that's on there, and they're harvesting that skin. So the deer are fine. So just taking that piece and then they're making an extract out of it. Kind of I don't know. It's very clumpy and very substantial.
Okay. Yeah.
It no surprise. There's a bunch of collagen and a bunch of other things and then amino acids, all that because it looks like it, it's not just this watery thing. But so it has, you can see here, it includes IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor 1. It has collagen, minerals, calcium, phosphorus. So just a bunch of glycosamine for joint health. A bunch of great things.
Reduce inflammation. Okay.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I assume it's probably one reason it's healthy for testosterone production is that, the larger the deer antlers is what they would signify as being kind of the dominant male of the area, being able to kind of reproduce. And so it's probably all of the nutrients and other signaling cells that need to help support that kind of growth in becoming the dominant male deer of that area. So it kind of would make sense that, okay, anything that helps that deer produce larger antlers that can have the bigger fights and kind of push the other and kind of after that evolutionary path, then it's probably supporting testosterone and other elements that are healthy in that kind of general direction.
Yeah. I'm just happy to know that it's, to your point, it's just a highly rich, substance.
Yeah.
So it's yes, it might help with hormones, but it's also just helpful in so many different ways.
Yeah.
It's just good for you to consume. And so,
and I guess, that's anytime learning about hormones, it just seems incredibly complex. We start to understand it's not just this single hormone does this one function.
Yeah.
It's no, this hormone does these multiple of functions, and then that cascades down into these other hormones. So it is a very complex topic in general and functionality. And so, it makes sense too that, okay, well, I'm not just going to be able to find a single compound and take that. It should be more of a natural source that has this, kind of symphony of compounds, of hormones or precursors,
just everything you working together. In general.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
Which then also helps with your hormones and which helps with all these things that we want, that are associated with better hormones, more sex drive, more energy, all these things. Well, it's not just testosterone. It's also these other things too that you need. So,
Well, so apparently too so insulin resistance, erectile dysfunction may be one of the first leading indicators with insulin resistance, because the idea is that insulin is one of the kind of one of its functions is also to help signal to the blood vessels to dilate, to open up. And so when you think about erectile dysfunction, that a lot of the functioning has to be expanding the blood vessels with all the other functionality. And so if you have insulin resistance, where kind of that first precursor is like, hey, we need to increase these blood vessels, relax them, let them get larger. If you have insulin resistance, where, you know, insulin's coming around, knocking on the door, and it's like, nope, I'm not going to like change, not going to do anything. That is kind of the first leading indicator. And so, yeah, it's amazing how all of this is interrelated and related to each other.
It's part of the body.
Yep.
So, you know, bigger part of the body for some people. Okay. All right. It goes along with the topic we're talking about. Okay. The other thing I've been taking is, because it was part of that bundle, is pine pollen. And we've talked about it a bit before. And pine pollen it's made from the male spores of pine trees. And it contains phytoandrogens, testosterone, DHEA. So all these things that are directly related to your.
It'd be interesting to see what hormones, how they interact in plants. I mean, given like just the difference in the biology between a plant and kind of like the animal cells, I wonder how. Because, yeah, I mean, there are plants that produce testosterone, produce very similar hormones.
Yeah, like pine pollen.
Yeah, it's really, I'm really curious to see, but they don't necessarily have blood vessels that expand, or how does that function inside the plant? How is it different? How is it similar?
Good question. Yeah, I want to know too. Anyway, I've been taking those two things for the last, I don't know, 3 months or so, and I've been actually reducing my Tonkat Ali intake. So my thing is either I'll take Tonkat Ali or I'll take these two things, and I feel great. I don't feel any worse, and I feel maybe slightly better, if anything. I've been working out more, and
Got it. Yep.
Sex life is okay. Everything is good. So so yeah, everything is wonderful. So yeah, I was skeptical when I was getting this whole kit, and let's see how it would play out. But I've enjoyed the experience. So.
Right.
It's literally in here right now. So I put it with tea, with Kratom tea, and that's my secret sauce. So there it is. If you want some, it's literally right in here.
Good. That's right.
Just take it right there. All right. Anything else we want to talk about? Do you think cold plunge does anything with testosterone? Hormones?
I'm not sure. I mean, I've seen vaguely from what I remember is that, the study was like super small and then not really conclusive. There's maybe one study that showed an increase, but then it wasn't really consistent with more information.
So I'm concerned about the reverse. It's freezing cold water. I'm up in,
yeah, but I mean, it's not gonna, I mean, it definitely increases dopamine, kind of helps with that side of feeling mentally better. So if that helps with the other aspects of life and working out, it's going to be beneficial for sure. I don't know if it helps with, I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's ways to hypothesize that if it's kind of very cold out and then it's almost like a signal to like maybe reproduce because there's like a harsh environment out there.
Let's all cuddle.
I don't know. Maybe there's something along those aspects, but it's only just hypothesis or kind of like guessing.
What I find, the most interesting part of cold plunging for me is afterwards just being flushed red. Because all the blood vessels, everything is going. It's trying to survive.
Trying to get back warm again. Or
so my body's just like beat red. I'm like, oh, okay. So maybe that's something to do with blood flow there.
I mean, if it helps reduce inflammation. I mean, inflammation is a big indicator of kind of near-term insulin resistance. So that can, and so I mean, just overall healthiness will help your body. Inflammation, obviously. Well, but that's the other thing to remember.
It's acquired, but
that's the other thing too. Is like. Inflammation is what's needed to build muscle, or I mean, it's essentially like we need that stress for your body to know what direction to grow. I mean, if we take a human body and put them in outer space with no gravity stress, bones start to demineralize. It's like, oh, I don't need this anymore. So like we need stress, we need inflammation to grow muscle on that side, but then too much stress just everything destroys the body. It's like, right. So everything. Yeah. So it's, everything is good and bad at the same time, just in a matter of context.
Yeah. All right. We did have a couple customer questions I'm seeing here that we need to answer, but we'll do our best to answer. This is the first time you're seeing them.
Yep.
So let's get through it. I know we're a little bit long on time already. All right, first question. Why do you make the Kratom tablets so small?
Yeah, I mean, two main reasons. So one is that the convenience. I mean, having the Kratom tablets as small as possible just makes them easier for me to swallow. So that side is kind of pretty straightforward. The other aspect is that Kratom usage varies dramatically. People take anywhere from about 1 gram or even less, like 500 milligrams,
Yeah,
up
like
to
2
5
tablets.
grams, which is, so that wide range means that some people do take only 2 grams, about 600 milligrams of our tablets, and that's enough for them.
Yeah.
Other people need to take, I've taken up to like 5-6 grams at one time. And so it gives us that ability to cover a large amount of customers' different usage and needs with one single tablet.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the timing on it is pretty eerie, but we had a customer leave a review on our website maybe yesterday or something, and give us a 5-star, and it was because of the tablet size. So this is the first time I've been able to finally tune my dosing.
Wow. Yeah.
So now I could just adjust by just small increments.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's, if I need 1 gram, or if I need about a little bit more, 1.2 grams, I can do that. Or if I need 1.5, it gives a lot of variability of people can finely tune exactly what they need.
I mean, personally, I like it because it's just so much easier to swallow. Tablets themselves are easier to swallow than capsules. Definitely easier to swallow than straight powder.
Yeah.
Those toss and wash days of yore, no thank you. If you do it, great, wonderful, but I'm not a fan. So I'll stick to the tablets. But I could do a handful of tablets, no problem, because they're small and they just kind of like adjust the...
Yeah, as opposed to like a couple larger size
big
tablets
ones.
trying to go down.
Because we've made a couple for customers.
Yes.
For other businesses, not like not your one-off customer.
I've made some half-gram tablets, and those, even that,
I find it hard to swallow.
Very, surprisingly, it's a lot
Harder
harder
to swallow.
Yeah, and that actually does go into technically. That's the reason they make kind of, like the typical Tylenol shape, which is like an elongated kind of pill, essentially.
Yeah.
The reason it's elongated pill like that versus just say a round tablet or a ball is because that shape is easier to swallow. So that's why like our 10 millimeter diameter, nice and thin, is kind of almost like an elongated, similar, just much smaller. That's much easier to swallow than if that same size was more like a rounded ball. So like it's just kind of, it's a weird phenomenon, but that is technically why that shape is easier to swallow.
Yeah, our tablet isn't just flat, right? We do have there's a shape to it. Yes. Okay.
Yep.
Oh, there you go. It's all little details. I like Etha. Thank you for putting in that effort for those details that I don't even recognize. Okay. The other question: when are you bringing back Kratom plants for sale? Oof. Okay.
Good question. Yeah. I mean, maybe it's probably going to be a month or two. And so we have, we've had some feedback on kind of the shipping of our plants, the state of the plant. And so with our partner that we were using to help us grow these plants, maintain them, we've moved to a new partner that should better kind of fulfill the customer desires of getting great quality plants, having a nice shipping container. So in an effort to really kind of help deliver a much better product and experience, we're moving to a new partner to just produce an overall better product. So always trying to improve and get better and make sure that we maintain that Etha quality and standards across everything. That's why we've unfortunately had to take a break from being able to ship plants. So as we move the mother plants and move the major stock from one greenhouse to another, kind of causes a little bit of stress on the plants. And so get those back up and healthy and thriving, then we can kind of start that production again.
Yeah. And it's winter here too, and the plants aren't fond of cold weather.
Yeah.
So
but our new greenhouse is going to be a lot warmer, a much more tropical environment as well. So we should have a better ability to kind of maintain that quality throughout the entire year. We don't have kind of be as dependent on the time of the year.
Yeah. So all in all, it's we could have continued shipping the same plants, but we just we just want to elevate the quality, as Alex elaborated on. So we'll get there. They're already looking amazing, by the way. So,
excellent. Yeah. I mean that fortunately Kratom plants are very hardy. They're a fast growing amazing tree. I
Mhm.
mean, we
the
still
right care,
Yeah.
boom,
Yeah.
they just go.
I mean, we have plants outside of our office that are planted basically in, I mean, it's a parking lot with some soil in these little containers that are
Yeah.
kind of like at a very,
More cigarette butts than soil.
I mean, it is a harsh environment. It's cold outside. It does not get enough sunlight, kind of shield from the
No.
building, and yet the plants are surviving, and they look good some parts of the year. I mean, they look a little bit stressed during other parts.
Yeah,
So
summertime they look
yeah,
great.
I mean, it's amazing that they're able to survive in that type of like
yeah,
kind of plant environment. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
with
not
car
not-
fumes hitting
Yes.
them the whole time.
So kratom plants are definitely a very hardy plant, which
Yeah.
is fortunate.
Yeah. So they'll be back. They will be back. That is for sure. When? As soon as possible, but only until they meet our quality standards. So there you go. Those are the 2 questions. All right. Anything
Cool.
else? No. Okay. Let's do the outro, I guess. Thank you for tuning in, and hopefully you got some insights on how we regulate our hormones naturally through our own personal experience, and also some great research that Alex did on this podcast. More to come with that. We're always out there listening to others and doing our own research, and hopefully sharing that with you guys. If you found any value in any of this stuff and enjoyed yourself, support the show by shopping at eatthenaturals.com for all your kratom needs and Tomcat Ali needs. If you have an idea for an episode, write to us at podcast@eatthenaturals.com, or go to social media and you'll find us, Eat the Naturals. We're on IG, Facebook, all that stuff, Twitter, X, all that. So write to us, let us know, and we'll feature your question. If not, make a whole episode out of it. We'll add it to the end and we'll answer your questions for you. All right. With that, until next time, I'm Victor.
I'm Alexander.
And I'm Nicole.
As always,
Live fully.